It's atmospheric dawn in the beautiful La Madre Mountains Wilderness just west of Las Vegas. And our goal today is Devil's Slide. There's La Madre Mountain ahead. Devil's Slide is on the north side, a little bit to the right. There you can see Devil's Slide. And you can see that there are two sections. One section below is limestone scree that probably fell from above, and then the upper section is a beautiful limestone slab. Limestone is an ancient sea bottom. It's frozen mud from the bottom of an ancient sea. We might expect to find some sea creature fossils up there, frozen into the mud of the slide. We're looking for that. And maybe we'll get up to the top of La Madre Mountain. Maybe not. At least we're going to get to Devil's Slide today. Now, how did I get here? Well, let's look around first of all so you can see the area. As I mentioned, La Madre Mountain on the right. And there's Fernande Peak. And then we're looking at the La Madre Mountains Eastern Ridgeline, upper ridgeline. And there is East La Madre Peak. And then now turning toward Las Vegas, where you see the sun. It's not risen yet. Atmospheric dawn is that about 30-minute period of time before you see the sunrise, but when things are lit up, it's such a beautiful time. Okay, and there is Peak 6080 and what I call the Harris Springs Ridgeline, Harris Springs Canyon Ridgeline. And on the other side, directly on the other side of that ridgeline, is Metro Las Vegas. So we're not very far from Metro Las Vegas, but as far as this wilderness feeling here, we could be hundreds of miles from any kind of civilization. And then looking down in this direction, looking down a canyon toward the Sheep Range. There's the Sheep Range. And then just to complete the circle here, there's a ridge line. On the other side of this ridge line is Kyle Canyon Road. And at the base of the ridge line, this base, there is a wash. And last week, I found a limestone slab in that wash somewhere up toward this area below, and that slab was just filled with fossils. And then over this way you see a ridge line, and that's the La Madre Mountain North approach ridge line. I took that last week. It ascends gradually, but yes, it's pretty relentlessly steep, and it circles around the right side of Devil's Slide and then heads on up to La Madre Mountain summit, crossing above Devil's Slide to the summit. So that gives you an idea where we are here. The goal, Devil's Slide. How did I get here? It was in the dark. You can look at the linked page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com where you will find a map for this adventure, and you'll also find the where I parked on Kyle Canyon Road and the trails, roads that I took to get up to this location. So let's get started. I'm going to take the old road that continues beyond this vehicle barrier. I've been on a road that is established and in use with motor vehicles, but it ends right at this point. So I'm going to take this road, continue, used to exist. It's pretty faint, but it follows the ridge straight ahead toward the Devil's Slide. And by the way, it's 80 degrees in Metro Las Vegas today. And that'll be the high, which is a perfect temperature to visit the La Madre Mountains. It's the last week in October. In fact, in a few days, it'll be the 1st of November. I'll continue on this road, ascending this ridge, and then veer downward to the left. And you see some gullies there. I'll take a series of gullies over to the base of Devil's Slide. So this is the best way to get to the base of Devil's Slide. If you took the north ridge, you would end up way above Devil's Slide, circling around. So if you want to hit the base of Devil's Slide and really check the slide out, it looks like the gullies. You can see the contours of the land ahead. You'll see more of that. Looks like that's the best way to go. As we approach the Devil's Slide, magnificent geological wonder, just about 15 miles from Metro Las Vegas as the crows flies. 450 million years ago, this was a sea bottom, and it was raised by tectonic forces to a near vertical position. There it is. But what I wanted to point out here is that there are limestone slabs all over the place. This limestone is the frozen sea bottom, ancient sea. It was mud at one time. Fossils of sea creatures who died and sunk to the bottom. These slabs here are just embedded with fossils everywhere you look. And that's part of the reason that the sea mud turned to stone, is that these sea creatures, the calcium in their shells, mixed with the mud, and then over millions of years hardened into this limestone. So this is a sample of what we're going to see when we arrive at Devil's Slide. I hope. I want to at least get up there and touch the slide. I'm not sure I want to climb it. It looks pretty steep. By the way, there is a ridge just to the left that goes up to the summit of La Madre Mountain, and I'm going to call that Devil's Ladder. So Devil's Slide on the right, Devil's Ladder on the left. Let's continue on upward. I decided to take this old closed off road as far as it will take me toward the Devil's Slide, realizing that I'm going to need at some point to descend one of these slopes, one of these intervening slopes, and then find my way around the gullies that then lead up toward Devil's Slide. So I'll probably end up down in this area. But I just want to try the road because there are so many obstacles often in the gully washes, dry falls, all kinds of things that the road, even though it means more altitude gain and loss, sometimes it can actually be faster. So we'll see. And there above, you see the north ridge, the north approach ridge for La Madre Mountain. And I was on top of that just last week and descended from that to connect with this road on the return. So, yeah, now we're finding out what things look like below here. Curiously, here is where the road ends, turns into a little trail. Let's see where the trail goes. All I know is that I need to get over this next ridge. So I think we're going to have some elevation gain and loss before too long. Devil's Slide up in this direction. And yeah, I'm making a straight beeline for the slide. It's probably not the best way, but I just want to see where this road went. And now I want to see where the trail goes. Well, the trail brought me down into the gully between this ridge I was on the left and the next ridge. So that worked out good. So the trail continues up this way, but I'm really thinking I need to go over this ridge and head down to the gully below. we'll, we'll see. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but we'll find out soon. Looks like the trail heads up toward the north ridge above. I don't want to go up there because that leads toward, um, around Devil's Slide and not to the base of Devil's Slide. So I am going to ride the ridges here, see if I can get over this ridge, and there's probably another ridge or two ridges, maybe descend down into the gully that leads to Devil's Slide. So here we go. Okay, there's Devil's Slide. But now that I'm on top of this next ridge, you see a series of ridges in between with deep gullies. And I don't want to try the straight approach to Devil's Slide. So I'm going to find a way to descend down into the gullies below and then make my way around the base of these ridges if there aren't dry falls and obstacles, and get to the other side of this ridge right here below. Now that's Fernande Peak, and then work my way back over to Devil's Slide. There is no direct way to Devil's Slide, so to the base of Devil's Slide especially. You can get to the top of Devil's Slide a lot easier, a few different routes. But yeah, you want to go to the base of Devil's Slide. You're in for some uh, exploration through gullies and intervening ridges. So here we go. Downward. Devil's Slide for reference. I'm on the other side of the ridge I had ascended to earlier. And it's one ridge beyond where the road is. But now I'm going to descend down into this wash below and then take it around. You can see the contour of the land. I want to see if I can take it around this big intervening ridge around the lower left side and then see how far it will take me up to um, toward the base of the Devil's Slide up there. As often happens when you follow the contours of the land, remember I'm getting down to the wash below here, and as often happens, you find little trails. You're not the first one to decide that that was a good thing to do. And so that's encouraging. Maybe an animal trail, but if you look very carefully, you can see a very faint trail that I'm now following down into this wash below. And again, what I need to do is head up and around the back side of this large intervening ridge, um, behind which is the La Madre um, upper ridge line on the horizon above. Yay, thanks to some little animal trails, maybe human, I'm now in the wash. Descended through a few limestone ledges to get here, but the trails brought me down. And then maybe it is human because animals don't create cairns. So evidently someone on their return trip from La Madre Mountain, or maybe on the approach, took this very route and put a cairn there so they wouldn't get lost. Okay, so let's continue upward through the wash. It's going to get pretty cluttered and complicated, which is why I like ridges more, but there's no direct ridge that gets to the base of Devil's Slide. So onward. So far, this wash isn't too horrible. As you can see, this is looking down. There's the ridge above that I descended from to get to the wash. Maybe on the way back, I just take the wash all the way, see if it leads to the road. Might be a little better, but it hadn't been too bad so far. So let's continue up the wash. Boy, the obstacles in this wash are unforgiving if you wander a little bit off track. Here's a cairn. So somebody says this is the right track. To where? We don't know. There is Fernande Peak on the La Madre Mountains ridgeline, upper ridgeline. Here is that hill. We want to circle around the lower left side, and then hopefully that's going to take us straight over to the base of Devil's Slide. We don't know. We'll find out. The wash got too complicated. There it is below. I left it, and now I'm on that huge ridge. We wanted to circle around the opposite side of the ridge. Who knows what it's going to look like over there. Maybe I should have plowed through the wash because it looks decent, but at the same time, I don't know. It looked like it was getting complicated going around the base of this ridge. So here I am up on the ridge where I can see better. Fewer obstacles. And there is Fernande Peak, which is east of La Madre Peak and Devil's Slide. So gives you an idea where we are. Sheep range. For my return trip, I may get over to this other ridge just east of the ridge I'm on and then take that down to the road. I think that would end up at the road. We don't know, but we'll find out. It'd be a lot easier going than trying to do the wash on the way back. So, yeah, This is what we're looking at. Beautiful terrain, pine trees, juniper trees, and continuing on up and around. Who knows what things are going to look like on the other side of this ridge. But at least we'll be able to see Devil's Slide and what lies between us and Devil's Slide. Well, I just had to get out of the wash, and now I'm on that huge ridge. The ridge that was intervening between where I was earlier and Devil's Slide. Now you can see Fernande Peak, and La Madre Mountain is right up here. You can't see Devil's Slide from this perspective, but soon it should appear. I may have to descend back into the gully below the wash. I know that is the final wash that leads to Devil's Slide, but let's continue on around the edge of this ridge and see if there is a nice descent that'll get me where I want to go. And if Devil's Slide appears, we want to see where it is. Okay, onward. Okay, here we are on the far side of that large ridge that we wanted to cross around. And yeah, there's another approach wash below. So that's good. And it looks like the route down to that wash is not too horrible. And I can see just the edge of the Devil's Slide right up here. So, yep, I want to get to the base of Devil's Slide. And by the way, there is the North Ridge I've taken earlier. So I guess I could descend by the North Ridge, or I could skirt around this wash, and there's Fernande Peak, and there's East La Madre Peak. But you can see some ridges, some good descent ridges across the wash that's below. And those would actually be better if I can get over to them when it's time to descend. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and see if we can cross over and down and then take the next wash up to the base of Devil's Slide. Continuing up the wash, which is definitely the runoff from Devil's Slide. Sometimes I head off to the left side when the wash gets a little too clogged up. And then just give you an idea. That's looking down the wash. This little stretch is not too bad. That's looking over toward the North Ridge, La Madre Mountain North Ridge. So, yeah, Devil's Slide is right up in this area. We can't see it from here, but maybe we'll see it in a bit. There's the wash below. There's the North Ridge for La Madre Mountain that I've been on previously. And the base of Devil's Slide is just over this next hill, which is part of what I call the Devil's Ladder, which is a ridge that goes straight up to La Madre Peak on the east side, along the east side of Devil's Slide. So we're closing in, still have some really challenging terrain between here and where we can get a full view of the base of Devil's Slide. Now I'm on a slope just east of Devil's Slide, and It goes straight up to the summit of La Madre Mountain. Can't see it from here, but I call this the Devil's Ladder. So we just need to get out into the open where we can look over the edge of this and see Devil's Slide. To give you an idea where we are. There's peak 7680. And then through the trees here is Fernande Peak. So yeah, and then looking around, you can see if this tree wasn't in the way, you'd be able to see Sheep Range and Gas Peak. Here's Sheep Range. And then the North Ridge that circles around the upper end of Devil's Slide. And I've been on that. Got a page on Las Vegas Area Trails. That's right across the way here. So we're in familiar territory, but the obstacles are just tremendous. So let's just see where we end up. Well, here we are just about, I don't know, 300 feet elevation below the base of Devil's Slide. And I'm at a turnaround point. I don't think I'm going to have time to get up there and then turn around and get back out of the wilderness. So by dark, at least. So what I'm going to do is maybe circle around below. I can either go to the right or to the left. If I go to the left, I hit the familiar North Ridge, and then I can head down the North Ridge. Few landmarks. There is the tip of Mummy Mountain in the Mount Charleston Wilderness. Here is Angel Peak, Air Force radar installation. Then circling around here, there's Peak 7680 on the La Madre Ridgeline, and La Madre Mountain is just above Devil's Slide to the left. So yes, 7680, and then Fernande, and then 68 something, and there's East La Madre Peak. So again, not sure which way I'm going to head down. There's a lot of, as you can see, a lot of ledges here. By the way, yeah, Gas Peak, at the upper end of Decatur Boulevard, above the upper end. And there's the Sheep Range. So it gives you an idea where we are in relation to everything around us. So yeah, decision whether to go left or right and down. We'll find out very soon. And you can clearly see the two parts of Devil's Slide. The lower portion, limestone scree, probably broken off from the upper portion. The upper portion, a very slick limestone slab. Love to be over there and check it out, but this is as close as we're getting today. Okay, I was up on these rocks. Now I'm down below on this saddle. And still the question, which direction? Left or right? Right would take me up to the north slope, and I know how to get down from the north slope. You can see it on the horizon there. But I haven't done the left yet. So I'm gonna try going left and see if I can avoid encountering any huge obstacles. And then when I hit those slopes below, it'll be a very natural uh, descent back to the road. So let's try left just for variety. Here we go. Okay, here in this clearing, this is a better look at the terrain ahead. If I can get down to these slopes, I can take a left turn down one of the more gradual slopes and end up at the road. But between where we are now and those slopes below, um, who knows? It could be some limestone ledges that turn us around. Hopefully not. This is um, the hill. Remember, we were in the wash. We circled around. It's the right side of this hill. It was the left side on the way up. If we can get down there, then I can ascend the slopes on the other side of that wash, and it should be fairly easy going. No promises, but let's give it a shot. So far, descending off the slopes of the Devil's Ladder, which is above there, has been fairly easy, gradual, fairly well open, and heading for the gully below. You can see the sheep range in the far background. Closer is Peak 6080, Harris Springs Canyon Ridgeline, the other side of which is Metro Las Vegas. So yeah, continuing downward, and hopefully we'll be able to connect with another ridge probably in this area below. You'll see it closer as we get nearer to that spot. But yeah, this is a great experience of the northern side of the La Madre Ridgeline, especially the eastern section of the La Madre Ridgeline, and just very wild wilderness area. Untouched, and I can see why, because you just can't put a road up here, and it's all the approach roads are just very um, very long, and then there's a lot of wilderness ridges and gullies, limestone ledges. So it's definitely not a wilderness area that you can traverse rapidly, but because of that, it's pretty much untouched. We could be 1,000 miles away from civilization at this point and experiencing the same thing we're experiencing now. Very beautiful wilderness area. On the other side of the La Madre Ridgeline is more red rock, Calico Basin, Brownstone Basin, Red Rock Canyon, and there are some really cool petroglyphs etched in the rock down in those areas, and you can see those on LasVegasAreaTrails.com and how to get there. But for this area, just wild and untouched. and it'll probably be that way for a long, long time. There's the sheep range, and in the foreground, the horse ranches on Kyle Canyon Road, right down in that area. So long way to go, but very beautiful. Every moment is beautiful here. And by the way, there is the North Ridge. I've got a video for that, ascended that from below. We're doing this for variety. Still on the route, on the slopes above the wash below. It's down there to the left. And this is working out really well. I want to hit those ridges on the other side of the wash and then take those down to the road. So we'll see how that works. I'll head over in this direction, stay high above the wash, and better view up here, and also less obstacles. There's a great shot of the sheep range. And then peak 6080. Then over here, gas peak. So I give you an idea where we are, where we're headed. There's the Madre Mountains North Ridge. I like this route that I'm taking on the way back. Glad I didn't take the North Ridge. And very beautiful wilderness, untouched. Okay, onward. Still staying high above the wash down to my left, and I see a good descent ridge on the other side of the wash. So there are two washes that meet here. One's straight ahead, one's to my left. And so what I'm going to do is head straight over that wash down in the trees and begin angling down this ridge, which will lead me to the road. Been making good time, and this strategy has worked very well. And there is an idea of where we are. Fernande is the rocky peak straight ahead. This is the direction I came from. The North Ridge, way up over there. And I could have taken that down, but I'm thinking this might actually be a little more streamlined. Don't know. Let's cross the wash and then I'll have a better idea. So, okay, let's get on that ridge. And by the way, you can just see the tip of East La Madre Peak. There it is. Okay, onward. Now I can clearly see my way back. No, I'm not going to cross this next gully and ridge too deep, but look at this ridge that I'm on. Nice, easy, gradual decline, and then the road is actually right above that ledge. So we will figure out how to get either on the road or just take the gully once we get far enough down. And yeah, you can see the North Ridge over here. Sun is blinding to the left, so I won't go that way. Angel Peak. And then down the valley to the Sheep Range. Looks like there's actually a little trail on the other side of the gully here. And then there we have the Eastern Madre Ridgeline. And let's see what we can pick out on there. There's East Madre Peak. And there's Peak 64 something. And there's Fernande. So at some point, I'll get up on that ridge and just cross the whole ridge. But for now, explore the lower lands and heading back to the road. And by the way, up this gully, huge gully below, is a saddle just to the west of East La Madre Peak. And that saddle should take you down to Little Red Rock on the other side of the La Madre Ridgeline. We'll experiment with that also. And we still want to walk on Devil's Slide. So that's another return. So there's still a lot to explore here on the eastern La Madre Ridgeline and its lower slopes. My guess is based on where we are at this point. I believe I just need to get over to this next ridge, and then I'll be able to take the road down and we've got it made. So let's see how that all plays out. There's the North Ridge up above that limestone ledge. And this is the ridge line I believe I descended to the road. So I just need to cross a gully and then up this ridge, and then I'm on the road the rest of the way. What a beautiful area. Yay, we're back on the road, and another couple hours will bring me back to Kyle Canyon Road. All right, streamlined from here on out. And then, yeah, you can't see it too well, but Devil's Slide right up there. Got to figure out another route, a little more streamlined. And then here's Peak 7680, Fernande, and East La Madre Peak. So let's go ahead, take the road back.